Welcome to the 19th ESC Every Soldier Counts podcast.
Wherever you find American troops today, you'll find the men of the Transportation Corps. Enough and on time. That's the story we tell you today. The story of the Army Quartermaster Corps.
These youthful servicemen are members of the Army's Military Police Corps.
One of the most important forces behind the lines, the Army Ordnance Corps.
Welcome to the 19th ESC Every Soldier Counts podcast. Once again, I am Sergeant First Class Adam Ross, Public Affairs NCOIC for 19th ESC, and we have a special episode for you today. As you can see, this is a video podcast, our first video podcast, and today we're joined by the Team 19 command team of Brigadier General Stephen Allen and Command Sergeant Major Chad Peters. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And sir, it's hard to believe it was 6 months ago we did our first episode in January. It seems longer. I don't know why that we've had a busy year, but thank you. You went along with this crazy idea we had of a podcast, and you supported us the whole way. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
No, it's definitely caught on, and going to the video piece now will be even one step further to get more people up on the net and get their story out and get the word out for what Team 19 is doing across the peninsula. Definitely.
And yeah, we've always seen this as just kind of a new communication tool, and bringing the video part into it is just adding another evolution of it. So, Sergeant Major, this is your first time in the studio. Thanks again. You're relatively new to the team here. You took responsibility just about a month and a half ago or so.
That's correct. I'm super excited to be here. Probably kicking and screaming into the podcast, but I'm excited to get the message out and tell the soldiers a little bit about who I am.
Okay, and let's start with that, Sergeant Major. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Absolutely. So first, I always start off with I'm a Christian. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm specifically a father of 3 daughters and a son and a dog. I always tell that it's important because people who have daughters know what I'm talking about. I have a tremendous family, both immediate family and extended family, very, very close family. Someone who's tremendously proud of my service to the country. It's been an absolute honor. I've served, multiple rotations overseas, combating our enemies, and as well as an ambassador for the Army with our allies. I'm originally from Southern California, but really, after going on 28 years tomorrow, home is where the family is, and if I'm not with them wherever they are, that's where home is.
Well, congratulations on your Army anniversary, Sergeant Major. It's 28 years tomorrow. So, what made you want to become a career soldier like that? Was there a certain point where you knew you were in for the long haul?
There was, but it wasn't honestly. Beyond about 12 or 13, I knew I was going to 20. And when I was about 21, I knew I wanted to stay as long as I possibly could. Before that, it was, I'm only in it for a short time. I'm going to get the experiences I can. I want to serve my country, get some education. But at some point, you become part of the profession and completely dedicate yourself to it.
And so let's take us back just a little ways to Private Peters. Did you start out in logistics? Where did your Army career begin, Sergeant Major?
So I did not start out in logistics. I originally started out in the Signal Corps, but I've never changed my MOS. So I've always been a 94 Echo, which is a communications electronics repair. And the Army actually moved that MOS into the Ordnance Corps around 1998, somewhere around there. And I've never served in a logistics unit until I became a command sergeant major in the 82nd. Before that, it was always signal organizations, from the White House to Joint Communications Unit.
Interesting. So I know when my ears perked up when you said White House. So was that early in your career? What was that like, wearing the uniform and going to work in the White House, Sergeant Major?
So working at the White House wasn't so much about wearing uniforms, actually. It was wearing suits and often roughs, depending on the type of job we were doing. But It was an absolute honor. I got to serve under President Clinton and then President Bush. I served at a critical time of the nation. I was there during 9/11. I was actually a communications lead at that time. But just a phenomenal opportunity. It's just one of the opportunities that soldiers have throughout their careers if they apply for it and then are accepted for special assignments like that.
Yeah, that's actually a sore spot in the public affairs community. There's no 46 series slot at the White House Communications Agency. Someday, maybe. We'll see.
Someday.
So, but Sergeant Major, you come to Korea from Kuwait. What can you tell us about your previous assignment?
So my previous assignment, I was the Command Sergeant Major of the 401st Army Field Support Brigade, headquartered out of Camp Arif John, Kuwait. And really what that organization does is they are the enterprise coordinators for all of logistics for the CENTCOM AOR, from things like logistics augmentation to the Army, which is a lot of contract support. They also have the Army preposition stocks that are in the CENTCOM AOR. There's 5 battalions assigned to that organization, but very diverse battalions and what they do, from Afghanistan to Iraq to Qatar, and then the Kuwait battalion in Kuwait itself. Very different from the 19th ESC. They're the enterprise coordinators for that EOR, whereas 19th ESC is a step above that. We still have the relationship with the Army Field Support Brigade here in Korea. And it helps to understand what that monster really is, because that's a very large, important organization.
Yeah, and it's to people who've been to Kuwait, it's a different kind of heat, really.
It is. So I will not complain about the heat in Korea after arriving in Kuwait in June, and it's about 128 degrees and very high humidity, but rain is not coming.
And soldiers are probably getting used to seeing you running around our AO here. What was that like, staying and continuing your running hobby in Kuwait?
So if you look at my running log, my log for June, July, August is very, very minimal. We got probably down to 30, 40 miles a month, which is rare for me. I usually in the 90s for a month of running.
And what about before Kuwait, Sergeant Major? Where were you before that?
So before Kuwait, I was also a brigade sergeant major at the 528 Sustained Brigade, which is the Sustained Brigade for 1st Special Forces Command at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The unique thing about that assignment is that's the only globally looking sustained brigade in the Army. So I got an opportunity to learn about just about every AOR that there is. I did spend some time in Korea during that assignment. We have a small detachment here. Never any significant amount of time in Korea, but TDYs here and there for QTPs and stuff like that.
So I imagine you have to be ready for any kind of worldwide mission at the drop of a hat in that kind of brigade.
There is. There's that, always leaning forward, and we do the EDREs and stuff like that. But the unique thing of a brigade like that is globally looking is that they're already pre-positioned forward. Mm-hmm. So they're already in the fight. So when it starts, they're already got a head start on it.
Well, it sounds like you bring a lot of diverse experience here to Team 19, Sergeant Major. Glad to have you on the team. And we're going to shift a little bit to talking about something that's a part of our day-to-day life. We talk here in Korea and really everywhere now in the Army, the COVID fight, something we touched on in our very first podcast. Sir, I'm going to shift this to you. What can you tell me about what you're telling unit leadership about how we're preventing the spread of COVID and getting back to kind of where we were before?
Well, from the time I got on the ground, just a little rewind from the January one, I showed up in May of last year in an HPCon Charlie scenario. So while I was in quarantine, it changed to Bravo. And what I learned right away after getting out of quarantine was that the team down here did extremely well at enforcing the core tenets, USFK core tenets, wearing your mask, using hand sanitizer, doing the cleanliness, and then staying on that. Just the diligence every day to be able to enforce that. As we went through the summer, things started to get better, and then in August of last year, right around close to coming up on about a year, we went back to Charlie because the numbers started creeping up for a number of positives. and we lasted from the middle of August into probably the middle of September, and then went back into the Bravo area. Again, started to keep the numbers down, and through the enforcement, turnover of personnel. And then we got into the December timeframe, and right around mid-December, we went back to Charlie. And we stayed in Charlie until first week of February. And again, keeping the numbers down, keeping the walls up through enforcement, diligence, social distancing, and we came out of that well. And then from that, we've been in Bravo now, but we've added in the vaccinations now. We've added in a little bit more leeway in what we could do, but now we're finding ourselves in another situation where, with the strain that's out there, being able to double down on our enforcement. So clearly doing social distancing. We're doing the mask wear again, and people are knowing that it's still a threat. And so by continuous enforcement of just the core tenets, to keep our force safe, our families safe, we're not out of this yet. And so we've got to continue to be able to do that, especially with the turnover of personnel that we've got coming in, being able to catch them before they even get on the airplane to come over to Korea through their quarantine portion, or even modified quarantine that we're allowed to do. But to maintain that testing, maintain the rapid antigen testing that we have capability with right now, and to be able to keep that enforcement going. That's the only way we're going to be able to survive this and kill that virus over.
Definitely. And we had our surgeon team on the podcast recently. They were talking about, Lieutenant Rainey was talking about the vaccine and just the importance of it. Sergeant Major, when you talk with soldiers, what are you telling them about the urgency of vaccines and how that can help?
Honestly, I think that's the only way we're going to get ahead of this, is to get 100% or very close to 100% vaccinated. And there's going to be those exceptions that people should not take the vaccine based on what their doctor is telling them. For example, my son, he has some challenges, right? But he's getting the vaccine actually this Friday. He's scheduled to get his first shot. But we held off on him. He's 15. He's been eligible for 3-6 months. But we did some homework. We asked our doctors, did a self-evaluation, and we decided that it's safe enough for him as well. We feel comfortable with it. I think the United States government has communicated well that it is safe, and that's what I tell soldiers: just reconsider it. That's the only way we're going to get ahead of this thing.
And to repeat something the Surgeon Cell said, that we have the vaccines available. I mean, that there are enough for really anyone who wants to get one. It's very easy to get. So, if you need to get the vaccine, if you're eligible for it, talk to your unit leadership, talk to your medical section to get one for you. So with that, we're going to take a little break, but coming back, we're going to talk with CG and Sergeant Major a little bit more about Team 19. So stay with us here on the Every Soldier Counts podcast.
Phil Merchant here, the Command Safety Director for 19th ESC. Whether you want to call it a hoverboard, electric scooter, or even just the electric bike, it is imperative PTD operators are aware of their surroundings and understand the rules of the road in order to reduce the potential for accidents or endangering pedestrians. Hands-on familiarization has started. Keep your eyes peeled for training announcements or check with your unit leadership or additional duty safety officers.
And we're back on the Every Soldier Counts podcast. I'm Sergeant Adam Ross, Public Affairs NCOIC with Team 19. And we're back with Command Sergeant Major Chad Peters and Brigadier General Stephen Allen of Team 19 Command Team. Sergeant Major, how would you describe your leadership style coming here to Team 19?
Well, I think my leadership style has probably changed over the years, but coming to Team 19, I try and remain consistent. And the first thing I tell you is I'm an out front leader. I say that, but I'm also all about building consensus. I show energy and passion, or at least I try to, at every occasion when I'm around soldiers or the rest of our team. I'm big on providing purpose and the reason why we're doing things. So I try and communicate, if the CG's put something out, it's my job to try to communicate that down to the lowest level I possibly can. I'm okay with not saying things at some occasions. I think it's okay just to sit and listen, especially when things are going well. I have no problem, and I think the CG gives me enough leeway to, speak up when I need to speak up and say what I need to say. So.
And what are some goals you're hoping to achieve during your time here, Sergeant Major?
So some of the goals I hope to achieve, and I think we're on path on every one of these, just trying to make things a little better, is, one, I would say establish security. And what I mean by establish security is making it safe to work and to train for every soldier, and that includes our DA civilians and our KNs and our KSC. And that goes from anything, from traffic safety to killing the virus, but it also gets after of how we train and what we train for and what our priorities are. Warrior task and battle drills are very big with me. Weapons, crew serve weapons specifically, and getting after sustainment gunnery.
We talked before about how you're big on the holistic approach to soldier health, and could you talk a little bit about that? So,
the holistic health is not my idea. This is something the Army is going to, and I'm just reinforcing what the Army is already doing. If the whole concept of holistic health is getting after not only the physical aspects. It's really easy to tell a soldier to do more PT, and that's going to fix everything. And that's not always the case, right? You got to approach it from a holistic, where you're looking at the physical, the spiritual, and the mental aspect, and some mindfulness in there. A good example, if I had 10 days to train a soldier, I would take one of those and talk about diet and nutrition, and I would take another one to talk about sleep, health. And I'd probably take another day and probably just talk about mindfulness and spiritualness, and then I'd focus the other few days on the actual physical aspects and some recovery in there as well. So it's got to be that holistic approach to human performance.
Yeah, we're lucky here in Area 4 to have a lot of resources at our disposal. Like on Camp Walker, we have the Army Wellness Center. So a lot of those nutritional things you can learn about. A lot of places aren't lucky enough to have all the stuff we have here. So definitely leaders should take advantage of those. What about soldier development, Sergeant Major? You mentioned before how you actually earned a degree while you were a Sergeant Major.
I did. So I had my bachelor's degree, but I went on to earn my master's degree at my 1st battalion, and I actually completed it during my 2nd battalion. And it's just, I say that not to brag that I have a degree, that I have a master's degree, but to show that soldiers that it's doable, and it's also expected that you're taking classes and working towards some type of degree, no matter how busy you get. The Army gives us this opportunity. They paid for 2 degrees for myself. And it's made me a better leader. It's made me a more confident person, and it sets the example not only for soldiers but for my family and my children. So,
yeah, we have our Ed Center partners recently had a college fair last week on Camp Carroll, and I'm actually pursuing my master's right now. I know both the Ed Centers on Carroll and Henry, extremely helpful. If anyone has questions about that, you can talk to Mrs. Kim over at the Ed Center on Camp Henry. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity that you really shouldn't have to pay too much out of pocket for it either if you do it the right way. Yeah, and so you just got here, Sergeant Major. What was you came from overseas to Korea and then picked up your family along the way. What were some of the challenges you encountered on that?
So I'd say, very challenging, right? A little bit stressful, but every PCS has its challenges. And, you just got to remain calm and work through it. I did have the additional challenge of going from overseas to overseas and going to pick up my family back in the States and make that transition over here. I also have an EFMP child, which makes it a little bit more difficult. It's just one more hurdle. It can be done as long as you're reaching out early, to your sponsor and to the command and asking the questions. And hopefully they're giving you, the feedback like I got. Not only did I get the answers to the questions, but I got the points of contact that I needed to make those connections myself, and then work through it directly with the usually the 8th Army coordinators that are that actually facilitate that process. That really brings us to the Army's assignment of choice. That's one of the other initiatives, and I'll just briefly talk about that. But I think we've done a really good job in the 19th, but I think it can get better with as far as integrating soldiers into our formation better. And it starts off with the sponsorship, way out as far as we can with every single soldier. We have to make contact with every soldier. I don't care if they're coming from AIT or coming from a brigade's command sergeant major position. It should be the same. And then it comes to integration, how we bring them on, and what we teach them in those first 30 days. Because it's a short tour like this, we have to be focused on how we integrate soldiers, so we can get after the utilization directly after that. And I'm really making an effort with the talent management here as far as assignment utilization and movement during that utilization. Why they're here, the inter assignment moves, and then it goes to the transition and how we transition our soldiers back out of here. And the thing I was talking about is reputation. So you're going to have a reputation when you leave here. You're going to say something about the 19th ESC and Korea in general. What do we want soldiers to go home and say? What is our reputation? And it starts way back with sponsorship, because they're going to remember that move that they came here and it was really, really bad, or it was challenging, but we got through it because we had a team reaching out to us and giving us the right advice and right connection. So that's really one of the things I want to get after while I'm here.
And sir, I know you're that's a big item on your list too, right?
Absolutely. The career assignment choices, one of the pillars is being able to reach out to the soldier, their family, early on in the process, making that contact, make sure we have the right sponsor. We don't want the sponsor that's going to PCS 30 days before that next soldier's coming in. So assigning that early, and then that follow-through piece. There's social media platforms that you can connect. So not having the phone until you get phone service, we've proven that. We proved that when Command Sergeant Major Peters was coming in. The only way to connect is social media, but maintaining that connection with that family that's coming in, understanding their needs or desires, and then all the way through from the time they're leaving CONUS area to wherever they're going to touch down, whether it's up at Osan or or up at Incheon. And then bringing them through Camp Humphreys, then all the way down and getting them into the unit, but then also the norms, values that we have in Team 19 to be able to get them fully integrated into their units.
And how does that go into summer transitions, sir?
Right now, unlike last summer, where I'll say the floodgates opened up after 1 July. Now it's a little bit more. We know that there's a bubble that's coming in of personnel, but it's a little bit more manageable than last summer was. They were all coming in a short amount of time. Now it's phased out over summertime, so there's no reason not to have a good sponsor assigned for the enduring process of them bringing them into the formation and into the Area 4 or even up at Camp Humphreys or even Camp Casey. So keeping tabs on that with the units, understanding the numbers that are coming in, people that are leaving, and keeping that dialogue open versus a fire and forget type mentality. That's where we got to be able to approve the career assignment choice all the way from the time that they know that they're leaving, that they're going to be taken care of when they get to the unit.
Absolutely, sir. And in our G1 episode we did with our G1 teammates a few weeks ago, they reminded us that sponsorship is not just for arriving at a unit. You can even have a sponsor leaving too, and that's something that people need to be mindful of with everyone coming and going. And sir, last time I was with both of you. We were speaking at the ambassadors course we have on Camp Walker. What can you tell me about the continuum of harms, something our viewers can see right behind your shoulder here?
Well, I brought this in. I've been using this for probably since 2014, 2015 timeframe with previous units. And when I first took over, right after taking command, I was going to bring this in during the first ARB. And incident happened, so I changed that right away and brought it in within a day or two after taking over. And part of it's not a chart. The goal is it's a visual, pictorial, similar to what some other ones look like, but to stay on the left side of the red line. And that's so that you have a community, a climate, of dignity and respect where everyone can reach their maximum potential. Soldiers join the Army because they want to do something different. They want education. They want to go travel. They want to do something bigger than themselves. They don't join the Army to get in this type of situation on the right of the red line. And so it's important to be able to explain this to them with talking points down at the lowest level to ensure that when they get to Korea, they know that there's areas that they could easily get into trouble, and this is one of them. And so the only way to do that is to reinforcement, weekly, monthly, daily, end of week briefings, and have people really understand what this means and walk them through the chart. So the areas of sexual harassment or sexual assault, you'd be able to clearly have that dialogue in there. I use this during our SHARP roundtables we do monthly. We have our Generation Z dialogue that we do part of the SHARP roundtable to find out if we're meeting the mark, and they'll tell us. There was one Gen Z soldier that came, and he had the questions ready for me, aimed at me, and I answered most of them except for one I referred to the lawyer. But that's the dialogue. We've got to be able to have that open discussion. Are we doing well? What do we need to improve it? And I use this during my any of the counseling that I do for any people that I rate their senior rate, and to be able to push that down from the top down. But this is a multi-generational approach to get this down to zero, and that's it. And it's got to be continuous effort to stamp it out, because it's just not the way we're designed. That's not what we are.
And Sergeant Major, how do you think those ambassador classes augment that effort? I was there when you were having a dialogue with the students in that class. What was your takeaway from that class?
So I would tell you across the board, talking to soldiers and talking to the folks that are facilitating the SHARP Ambassadors course, because they get the most feedback. This is a success across the board. I mean, soldiers are excited about going. They want to go to it. They want to be an ambassador for the program. And I think the important thing they get out of this course is that red line, like the CG talked about, not crossing the red line, staying in the green, and then showing what behaviors look like in the green on the positive side. What does it look like to have an organization that has dignity and respect? What are the advantages of having that organization that is respectful, right? It drives our readiness. We can train more if we're focused on if we're not focused on the stuff on the right side of that line. And that's what soldiers are talking about. I expect, and this is an expectation of every team leader, every squad leader, should be able to sit down with a soldier, have this board up, and have that discussion. And it should be a back and forth discussion. It shouldn't be just, preaching at them. It should be a discussion of what this means and what we do expect of you, not what we don't expect of you.
Definitely. And to finish up, sir, we've had a lot of events this summer. Now that weather's been nice, there's been a lot of things happening around Daegu. What can you say about the importance of Team 19 staying involved with the local Daegu community?
Well, first, there's a lot to offer down in the Daegu area. There's plenty of outdoor activities. There's plenty of things to see and do in this area, and staying connected with the city of Daegu, even in a COVID-19 environment, has been okay. The Korea Advisory Council, which we rely on, members within the Advisory Council that help us determine what we can and can't do and opportunities for our soldiers. Very important for whether it's arts or culture or day trips in conjunction with USAG Daegu, being able to give alternatives to our soldiers to be able to get out and see things and do things. And there's a lot to do here. The city is very helpful, but they're also very COVID-19 compliant, and they expect that of us. We stay in constant dialogue. If there's opportunities like going to see the Samsung Lions baseball games, going to see some of the day trips that are out there, there's plenty to do, and that's being able to relay that to our soldiers and our families, but then also being able to execute safely in a COVID-19 environment.
And Sergeant Major, CG mentioned the Samsung Lions. I was there with you. I saw you brought your family to the game. What's been your family's experience here in Daegu since they've been living here with you?
I mean, first of all, the people in Korea are they're warm-hearted. They welcome us. They're happy we're here, and that we get that everywhere we go. If you have little children, your children get lots of attention in Korea. For some reason, it seems like the Korean people really like to look at little kids in general, and then cute little kids especially. But it's just been a phenomenal experience. We've done a lot in our short time that we've been here. Like you said, the baseball game, we got to do some. We've been to the Susong Lake and done the paddle boats out there. We went to Spark yesterday, as a matter of fact, and spent most of the day there. And just there's a lot of opportunities, even during a COVID environment, as long as you take the proper precautions and abide by what the Koreans are asking you to do. And whether it's limits on how long you're out or where you go, or the number of people in the crowd or the number of people in your party at a dinner. I mean, there's lots of things you can do with the current restrictions.
Definitely. Yeah, and I completely echo what you say about the Korean people. When this is my family's first time in Korea, I'd been here before, and when we got our orders, I told them, wait until you meet Koreans, you see what the Korean culture and community is all about. You'll feel like you're at home when you're there. But I think that's all we're going to do today, gentlemen. Thanks again for coming on the podcast, and we'll do it again sometime. When we if we have something else, we'll find something else to talk about. But I want to thank again the command team of 19th ESC, General Allen, Sergeant Major Peters. Thanks again, and listen to us next time. We'll be back again with another episode here on the Every Soldier Counts podcast.
19.